welcome to our YouTube channel. Today we will be answering some questions regarding remote employment. And with us, as always, is Christine from Aephorus Law. Hi, Christine.
Hi, Lizette. How are you?
So I'm very good, and you?
Thank you. I'm well, thanks.
Okay. So I think my questions today might be helpful, as I am an independent remote contract worker working from South Africa for a company that's in America, Aephorus Law. They're actually based in Arizona. So yeah, one of the questions, when I just started working as a remote employee, I had to fill in an I-9 form. This was something I was not always quite sure why I had to fill it in. Can you maybe give us like an answer why people have to fill in an I-9 form? What is an I-9 form, basically?
Well,
for those who don't know.
Yeah, so an I-9 form, as far as I understand, no, that's not an area of law that I practice in, and it's usually for immigration types of situations. And then if you are working as an employee and you are not, you don't have U.S. citizenship to some extent. I mean, and I, as far as, you know, employment types of questions, there's lots of forms. There's a W-2 form, you know, if you're an employee in the United States and working as an employee in the United States. The I-9 form, I think, has to do with your authority to work, probably for a U.S. company. But I'm going to Google it really quick, just because I didn't know you were going to ask me about an I-9 form. It is, so it's to verify the identity, as I said, in employment authorization of individuals hired for employment in the United States. So I don't know who asked you to fill that out, but you weren't in the United States, and
No.
but the company might have been based in the United States, and so somehow maybe they gave you that form mistakenly, or because you were going to come to the United States. It's basically citizens and non-citizens, and it's an immigration sort of thing. They want to make sure you're qualified to be employed in the United States, but you're not in the United States.
True. So is there any specific form that I need to know about that a person should fill out if you're working remotely from like other parts of the world, like I am?
That would be something that you would have to contact your government and ask.
Okay. It's just like a random question. So yeah.
There may be requirements, you know, for different countries relative to remote working. And it also depends on if you're considered an employee or if you're an independent contractor. So,
True.
you know, and those different forms, and it can get complicated, and it's probably best to have the guidance of an employment lawyer. And you know, even our firm, I will have to ask employment law related questions, because I don't always know those answers, because it's not an area I focus on. And so I think that's kind of the takeaway, is that, you know, there's some questions that that occur every day relative to, you know, independent. And we have cases that, and we have a case right now that involves independent contractor versus partnership versus employee. So those are questions that often arise in small business settings.
Okay, that's really helpful information. I also wanted to ask you, so like in my case, I'm a remote worker. I think this is a question I must probably ask Christine 1,000 times. So a lot of other people that work remotely will also probably have this question. How can I, as a remote employee, and if there's a possibility, become a permanent employee of the company? You know, is there option like that? Or can I be treated like one?
Yeah, so you have to have authorization to work in the United States. And then if not, then there would be something that would need to probably be applied for in your country there in South Africa. And I'm not familiar with that, but it's something that can definitely be looked into.
Okay. So guys, there's always some type of option that, you know, you can get help or the relevant information. like Christine mentioned, maybe contact an employer lawyer or, you know, your government, or even go look on a government website. I think maybe there's some helpful information as well there. And then the
Yeah,
other
I
thing
mean,
I wanted, if
do you have I have a question for you. Do you have a Department of Labor kind of government entity that you'd be able to ask questions to?
we do have a Department of Labor here in South Africa as well. So yeah, I can go ask them and then maybe like post a link or whatever for anybody to like, or any relevant information I will maybe add to this video as a link so they can
Yeah,
see whatever the Department of Labor told me,
yeah.
you know. And then I wanted to know, how does leave work as a remote employee and holidays? This is just a question for everybody out there.
Well,
Who's
yeah,
okay.
so leave work depending on the policies and procedures. You are an independent contractor, as you pointed out. So independent contractors have
Yeah.
their own schedule and their own time. And so their time is scheduled based on how they want it. Now, as an employee, generally speaking, you earn leave and earn time off. And
Okay.
so as an independent contractor, you can take time off, generally speaking, as you want, because you're independent. You don't have to, seek special permission. You just have to, as long as it is working for whoever you're working with. You may have more than one company that you're working with.
Okay, that is true. And then, where do you usually look for remote workers? And if you look for remote workers, where do you usually look for them? And what is qualities that stand out for remote workers for you as an employer in a US country, or in the US, basically?
Well, I can tell you, I would never, before COVID, I never looked for remote workers.
Okay.
It was, and what happened with COVID is that my employees and newly hired employees, in fact, became remote workers.
Oh, okay.
So they had to work from home. Now, when we're working with people who are living in different countries, right? Then generally speaking, you're working with independent contractors. There, you don't have, but that doesn't mean that they can't become employees. I'm sure there's a facility to somehow, but I'm not familiar with it, at least as far as South Africa and for other places. I do have colleagues who have a lot of remote workers, and they may be employees, they may be independent contractors. And that's really what you want to look at. Are they an independent contractor? Generally speaking, that's what most remote workers, especially overseas, are going to be. But it doesn't mean that you can't figure out how to make them employees. It's just going to be a bit more complicated because you're going to have to meet obligations probably in that country, wherever that remote worker is living and resides and is probably a national of. It's, now there is a possibility of remote workers moving to the United States and then applying for authorization to be able to work in the United States as an independent contractor or as an employee. But you need to go through immigration. And so it's a combination of immigration and employment law.
Yeah. It sounds like a real long process, but I think it's a worthy process, especially if you find, like, if by some chance, like I did, you find a place that you feel you can grow and that helps you as an individual, especially if you live in a remote country. So, and a country that's not that, how can I say, our technologies are not that advanced as the US, like that's an example. But people, there's a will, there's always a way, and if you want it hard enough, you will fight for what you want. That's what I believe.
Yeah, and information is key. I think the questions you ask are good, and it's something that I'm sure there's others that have similar questions, and it's just a matter of finding the right people to ask those questions to, and then collecting that information and starting the process.
Yeah, and then the last question I have for any remote person out there that's working remotely for any company, wherever. So what is the remote performance review like, and how will a remote employee's success be measured?
Well,
like
I would
I'm
think,
actually going through a review, guys. don't
Yeah.
know. So
Well, I think you
this
can
is
answer
something
that.
I'm really stressing
Oh, okay.
about.
So, well, you shouldn't, the idea of employment review, it should be an opportunity. That's how I see it, for you to kind of evaluate where you are,
Yeah,
where you want to go, what challenges are there, things you like. I think all of these are questions that are in your particular review. And so, and then what would you like to see yourself
Yeah.
doing, in the future? What kind of goals do you have? And those could be salary, personal, professional. And so, and then, and having that discussion and seeing how to work towards that. So it's an opportunity, I see. I understand
yeah,
the idea of a review or, sitting down with somebody who's your supervisor is intimidating. But at the same time, you have to think of it as an opportunity to have that conversation for all these kinds of questions. In the questions that you're raising today, those are the kinds of questions that you might want to discuss during a review, as well as, some skills. Maybe you want to
Yeah.
take a certain course and develop certain skills. You want to, you think some certain tools would be helpful for you to do better and work in a better way. And challenges that you find that you have, and things that are, and discussing why they're challenging, and maybe coming up with some solutions, or at least a plan to work beyond those challenges. And maybe, and then maybe learning about, your supervisor won't know your goals until you actually really discuss them, and then making a plan to work on them, right?
True. I also see it as an opportunity. Guys, for you who don't know, I'm not very good at evaluating myself, but it was a very big eye opener, because I got to look at the areas I think I can improve on, and the areas I think I actually improved on through the years. So it was a great learning experience for me. Yeah, and I think it's good to have, like, these evaluations to ask yourself questions. Where can I improve? Like you said, what do I want to do, and what do I want to become in the future? So
Yeah.
it's good. And I think that's our quick take on remote work. Anybody who wanted to know. This is my life at the moment, but I love it. And I hope this video was helpful, and everybody can learn anything from this. And please, guys, if you have any questions, you can comment down below. On our YouTube channel, we have a comment box, and on all our social media, there are comments. You can leave a comment anywhere, or you can email us, and we will be getting back to you and trying to answer your questions as soon as possible. And that's
Thank
it
you,
for
Lizette.
us. Thank you. Have a great day, Christine.
Okay, and don't worry, your review will be fine.
I know. So yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.